Hello, I'm Matt Guff from House.com, and this is a 2020 Jones Flagship Snowboard. The Flagship, this is kind of the staple within the line. Well, actually there's a couple of them, but this is one of them for Jones that really stands out. I ride a lot of the carbon version of this, but for 2020, this Flagship has been updated in a brand new shape with a lot of new materials. This is won a top 5 house award for the freeride category for 2020. It has a lot of great precise style properties to it. It's for all mountain, big backcountry, free riding, and maybe some kind of like fall line and freestyle riding too, which is kind of unique. But for the most part, this is a free ride ripper. It's a directional board overall. It has a 12.5 millimeter style taper. The nose is just a little bit wider than what you find in the tail, but surprisingly enough, it's really easy to ride the Flagship switch. And that's because inside the effective edge, the stance is actually centered. So when you go backwards, it doesn't really feel that awkward. But it does feature a 3D contour style base, meaning that the nose and the tail kind of have this bolt hole style shaping to it, so it floats in really deep snow. But at the same time, it has some really unique grip tech style edges and traction tech style edges to grip when you're riding on really, really hard stuff. Another cool thing about the Flagship is the profile shape. Now this is called what Jones calls a directional rocker. Now, a directional rocker sounds like it's mostly rocker, but that's really not true here. Underneath and in between the feet, the board has a decent amount of camber to it, and with the construction materials and type, it's actually a fairly sturdy camber. So when you ollie this board, behind that back foot is where you find the sweet spot. When you keep this thing on an edge, it's gonna grip really well, and then of course, when you're getting out of a turn, it's gonna accelerate into the next turn. And that's why I love the sturdiness and the shape of the camber of the Flagship. Now, outside of those camber zones, it's gonna be rocker. Now, it's gonna be a little bit shorter than what you find in the tail than what you find in the nose outside of that effective edge ending point, because the tail is shorter and not as long as what you find in this much longer style nose. Notice that the nose has a gradual style sweep, so it doesn't plow through snow, it skims over the top. So you add that with a 3D contour base, a slight taper, this thing floats like a dream and still grips hard pack. The feel and flex rating of the Jones Flagship is gonna be up there, right around an 8 or so. Quite a bit more firm than what you find in the average style board, and it does have a directional style flex pattern, being that the tail is gonna be quite a bit more stiff than what you find up here on the nose. Now, there is a veneer style top sheet. I'm not really sure what kind of wood that is actually, but I know inside is actually a combination of both poplar and paulownia, strong and lightweight style woods that have both basalt fibers on top and on bottom, along with woven triax, that gives this board a torsional style rigidness. The base is gonna be extremely fast. Now, I think this is the sintered 9000 base. It's basically like a speed formula, high wax absorbing style base that's already been impregnated with wax. Keep it waxed up throughout the season. Remember to do that. It's not an extruded base. It's gonna need to be moisturized, so keep your eye on it throughout the season. It does have a really nice factory tune. There's a nice stone ground style structure to it, and those contact points have been kind of dialed back a little bit. They're a little bit detuned, so they're not as crisp and sharp. But with that 3D contour style nose and tail shape, you really won't have too much of a worry about catching those contact points. There's a 360 wrap standard steel edge. Now this is kind of a little bit more of a beefy style steel, and with that is actually a progressive side cut radius. And I'm really happy that Jones added that in there. Progressive side cut radiuses tend to be a little bit larger in the nose area and then progressively get smaller in that tail. So when you're diving into a turn, it's going to accelerate out really fast, but when you ride a switch, it's going to have like a really aggressive in and then more mellow out. And then lastly is the Traction Tech 3.0. Now there's actually 3 little bumps, one on each foot on the heel and toe side edge, and then one right in the middle of the board that grips just a little bit better. With more surface area comes better grip, and that's why Jones has it in this Flagship. But from my experiences riding this deck, it does wonders in both areas that not very many other boards do a really good job, as good as a job as this board. And that's ripping groomers as fast as you can go and ripping pow and floating on top. Those are two really hard categories for one board to do as good as the Flagship does. Flagship, it's hard to beat, that's why it's a staple. You can check it out at thehouse.com by selecting the link below in the description. Leave a comment or a question, let me know what you think of this thing here. Subscribe to the channel there, check out more videos there, and hopefully I'll see you guys on snow. Peace.